Welcome to the Rusted Garden. Today's September 3rd and this is video 6 of 6 for growing large tomatoes. And if you've watched the entire series or been with me this year, we started this section of the garden back in May and it's still producing. I've done a couple videos on hydrogen peroxide. We're just going to wrap things up, talk about the last feed for these plants. You can see I'm transitioning them over to cool weather vegetables. They did extremely well. One of the keys is hydrogen peroxide. I'll link the video. I've been able to spray these down and manage disease extremely well. And these plants, some of them are almost 8 feet tall. I'm going to harvest everything today. Looks like I'll have continued production all the way into October this year. Just beautiful tomatoes. And we'll do a weigh-in. I'll go to my different large tomatoes throughout the garden and weigh in. I think I got a couple pounders. Nothing massive, but the whole principles here are just how to grow large tomato plants and also get some nice size tomatoes out of your garden. All right, let me clean out these plants. I'm going to harvest everything. We'll talk about feeding and transitioning over to your cool weather crops. So let's talk about hydrogen peroxide. It's something that I think you can use in your garden regularly, and it's going to change the way you can grow tomatoes. I've been using this now since about July. If you've been watching my videos, you saw how I've worked the formula up. I'm now using 6 ounces to 8 ounces of 3% hydrogen peroxide in a gallon of water. And you can spray your tomato plants with that. Start with the lower amount, see how your plants respond, always test spray. Before we get to that, it's been 5 days since I shot the beginning of this video that you just saw. We've had ridiculous heat again, 100 plus heat index. The plants are a little bit beat up, but they're doing well for September. And part of that reason is I've been able to treat early blight and leaf spot with the hydrogen peroxide. So I've mixed it up. I'm going to just show you the basic spray. You can see different spots on my leaves, some remains of leaf spot. But as you come up top here, you can see how green and healthy this red beefsteak is. That's why you're spraying with the hydrogen peroxide. You're stopping the fungus from spreading. You're allowing the tomatoes to continue to grow upward, and there's just a lot of healthy growth. I've taken out the tomatoes that you saw, a minute ago, and these are all new tomatoes ripening in there. Now let me just cut in to show you what the H2O2 has done, the hydrogen peroxide. All great growth in there. Lots of new midnight snack tomatoes coming in there. This plant's going to survive. It's not about your plant looking 100% perfect top to bottom. It's about continued growth and continued production. And this plant is just loaded. This is a red beefsteak variety, a 1994 All-America Selections winner, and it's still producing tomatoes. Packed. Nice sized tomatoes. Again, you can see how some of the leaf spot has tracked up here, but now with the spray that I just hit it with, that will be under control. This is going to continue, really, I think, until the frost comes. These are all the Valentine cherry types. Just look. I'm really excited because of Maryland Zone 7. Leaf spot, sometimes that's usually manageable in the beginning of the year, but early blight always comes and kills off my tomatoes. Just loaded with new growth and new tomatoes. Same for the currant types. Coming around here. Those are the red Chef's Choice. More tomatoes starting. Same with the beefsteak. One little one there. 2, 3. It's flowering. Just a side note, if your tomato plants aren't setting fruit, when the temperatures get to 90 degrees and the nighttime temperatures are staying close to 80, upper 70s, that's when they usually stop setting fruit. When the temperatures adjust, your fruits will flower and set fruit again. For the hydrogen peroxide spray, you don't want to combine it with other sprays. You just want the H2O2 on there. And soak the leaves down. Tons of great green growth. When you have an outbreak, you want to get the undersides. And for maintenance, if you just see a little bit of the disease, you could do this once a week, and you're just basically cleaning the leaves. The H2O2 goes away after about 24 hours. It breaks down. And then you can put your other sprays on. But this, part of the video isn't about how to use H2O2. I just wanted to introduce it to you. I'll link some videos to it. What I did want to say is now that you've had a full year of growing tomatoes using some of the principles and ideas that I've talked about, I want you to really think about next year setting up a routine. And a routine is important because it's how you can stop diseases, it's how you can stop pests, and just pick something that works for you. Like for instance, hydrogen peroxide once a week, baking soda every 2 weeks, water soluble fertilizer every 10 days. Whatever routine seems to work for you or you like, write that down over the winter, over the fall, and follow that come spring and getting your tomato plants set up. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the feeding for the last month of the growth of these tomatoes. Now the final feeding is just going to be a water soluble fertilizer. Again, the soluble fertilizers can be absorbed immediately. I'm using a combination of organic fertilizer and the chemical fertilizers. And again, everything on the planet's a chemical. The chemical fertilizers I'm talking about are the ones that are made by humans. So it's like Miracle-Gro. I'm not using Miracle-Gro, but it's 1/2 of the chemical types, 1/2 of the organic. The reason I'm doing that is because it will cover NPK, sulfur, magnesium, calcium, all the major and minor macronutrients, and also the micronutrients. And that's all I want to give. I want to just show you how much I pour. Tomatoes send out surface roots, so there are roots all over this 4 by 8 foot bed. This is all they're getting. This is a 2-gallon container, and that's it. That's the final feeding. Using chemical fertilizers in this manner is not going to hurt you, your plants, ever. It's not going to hurt the soil life. I just want you to think about that too. You don't have to use everything that says organic. If you choose to do that and you understand it, please do so. I'm about 90% organic, but I will use the chemical fertilizers as needed in a targeted way. So that's how I'm going to set up my plants for their final stand. Come October, they should be dying out. I'll be doing a separate video in October on just setting up this whole bed once the tomatoes are out with compost that I made and just prepping this for next spring for planting, and that is 100% organic. In the beginning of the video, you saw some nice kohlrabi in here. The heat came for this last 5 days and just burned out everything. We also got pounded with 2 inches of rain in like 2 hours last night. That further beat up the cool weather crops. So it's a transition period, and in a transition time when your tomatoes are dying out, this is a great time to test out other sprays on your plants and just see how they respond. Now when we talk about growing large tomatoes, of course we're talking about hopefully getting that 1 pound tomato, but you're also growing large plants. These are the tiny currant type. This plant is now flopped over. That's about 6 feet tall. This is a grape tomato. This is well over 6 feet tall. Again, I gotta retie it back up because it's flopping over. Then we come over here, we have some of the larger tomatoes that'll probably get close to 14, 15 ounces. That might be a 1 pounder. But you can use these principles on all types of tomato plants. Coming over here, you can see some large tomatoes in there, and it's probably about 10 pounds on there. They will all ripen, and with the spray that I just put down, I sprayed over here too, these are going to stay green up top, and maybe I'll get a few more. All right, let's do the weigh-in of some different tomatoes I took out of the space that I just showed you. This area here, of course, and then across that way I've got my Cherokee Purple. This is where we started back in May. Thanks so much for following this series for the last 4 or 5 months. This is the red beefsteak that I challenged Callie Kim to for the Who Could Grow the Largest Tomato contest, and I did win the contest. Pulled an 11-ounce tomato off of there. Not a 1 pounder, but I made the decision to leave this plant full of any tomato that was growing, and I've really pulled off 15, 20 nice 10, 11-ounce tomatoes off of here. So I consider that a success. You can check me out, the Rusted Garden, on Instagram, and you can see the video that I did that pulled the winning tomato off of there. So let's just finish with the weigh-in. These are tomatoes from this area and different parts of my garden. We'll start with the smaller ones, and these are about 11-ounce tomatoes. There's 10 ounces. This is one I just pulled off of the vine next to me. That's an 11-ounce tomato. This is the green one I just showed in the video a second ago. We're going to make fried green tomatoes. That's 13 ounces. Working our way to some bigger ones. That's one of the Chef's Choice Yellow. 12.5 ounces. This is an Aussie Heirloom. It's probably about the same. Oh, 13 ounces. And we could finish up with the Cherokee Purple. And that's 1 pound, 1.2 2 ounces. And this plant is growing right over there. The only fertilizer that garden in the back is getting are bananas and eggshells, actually whole eggs that I put in the beginning, at the end of the fall last year, and some more in at spring. So when it comes to fertilizing your garden, there's a million different ways to do it. And I want to end this series with this thought. Just think about what's available in your area, what you can afford, the kinds of fertilizers you want to use, set up that routine. Same thing when it comes to managing pests and disease, figure out what you like, what's affordable, what's easy for you to get, and then set up a routine for that. Stick to the routine. It's not so much the products that you use, but it's the routine you maintain with your garden. I hope this series helped you grow successful tomatoes this year. Please check back. We'll have more series for 2019 all about tomatoes. Thanks for watching.